So today I'm going to talk about will machine replace human labor? Let's go to the outline. Outline is, when going to this topic, I'm going to talk about Industrial Revolution, because Industrial Revolution is a very important turning point in history to new manufacturing industry. And second point is computerization in modern world and the effect of computerization on human labor. So let's go to Industrial Revolution first. Can anyone remember what's the time of Industrial Revolution?
1855 to 1860?
Yeah, almost it is, yeah, from 1760s to between something around 1840 to early 60s. Yeah, so the main features of Industrial Revolution, have you remember? Main features, what's the inventions of Industrial Revolution?
Well, you had like steam power.
Yeah, absolutely, very good.
The mechanization of labor, basically.
Yeah, and this picture shows the iron induction, the use of iron and the fuel of coal. This picture shows the steam engine, just like you see the steam power. And the third picture is the most important one. It is the dominant of Industrial Revolution. It is spinning jenny. The Industrial Revolution was the textile industry was the most important part of Industrial Revolution. So, what's the importance of Industrial Revolution? It is a major turning point in history. Almost every aspect of our human life was affected. And the second point, yes, in particularly, the average income and the population began to exhibit unprecedented sustained growth. Some economists say the standard of living for the general population began to increase consistently for the first time in history. At the same time, the transition was not without strife. The share of American workings on the field cut in half from 1800 to 900. And in the early rocket days of Industrial Revolution, pioneers and financiers have more and more wealth. They in grip of over their profits and accumulating more wealth in fewer hands. So the poor become poorer and wealth become wealthier. So this wealth disparity leads to labor riots, violence against immigrants, and widespread populist anger in. This was a case in U.S. I think it affected also Britain. Now this is a spinning jenny of modern world. It's totally automated. So we are entering a era of computerization. Some experts like to say AI revolution. There is a research done by Carl and Michael. They stated that while computerization has been historically confined to routine tasks, now it is changing. It's changing from rule-based to pattern recognition, such as the algorithms for big data, and now it is going to substitute for labor in a wide range of non-routine cognitive tasks. Currently, the software already provides medical diagnosis and data legal research. So this is a case of IBM Watson. Has anyone heard of this? Oh, you know very well. So this is the US program of Jeopardy. IBM Watson, it is a kind of language-fluent computer that invented by IBM. In the show Jeopardy, it competed with two excellent human beings and beat them in knowledge. And it is better at diagnosing cancer than human doctors. In these 2 years, it started to use in our clinical site, especially in oncology. Its ability to absorb and analyze vast quantities of data, and IBM believes it is better than human doctors, and its deployment through the cloud could also reduce healthcare costs. So what can Watson do? It ingestion 600,000 pieces of medical evidences and 2 million pages from medical journals, and it can further to search through up to 1.5 million patient records for the same time, and this gives it a breadth of knowledge no human doctors can beat. So how much knowledge do human doctors use when diagnosing a patient? It's only 20%. And it deciding on treatment relies on trial-based. Yeah. So it will take our doctors 160 hours equals to 1 week to just reading to keep up our newly updated medical knowledge as the publication goes, and let alone to consider the evidence. So IBM Watson can absorb information faster than any human could. So it fixed a flaw in our current healthcare system. So in the tests done by the Sloan Kettering Cancer Center, the successful diagnosis rate for lung cancer is 90% versus for human doctors only 50%. So the following will be a small video, only 3 minutes. I don't know which one is the voice.
iPad app during its pilot phase. So here Watson was given a very unusual case, a young Asian woman, non-smoker, who has lung cancer.
So now you tell Watson to do its thing, and it's now looking at the data you inputted, the data from her imaging, from her biopsy.
In 17 seconds, Watson has analyzed about 3,500 textbooks and 400,000 other pieces of data.
This is the screen where it shows you that after looking at what you have so far, it would consider that you would do several other things for the patient that it doesn't see yet in the chart.
In an instant, Watson has figured out what caused this cancer.
It turns out she has a very rare genetic mutation, which is accounting for her cancer.
And offered 3 treatment options.
It has shown that treatment 1 has a 95% confidence of being effective, whereas treatment 2 is only half that.
Is this so obscure that you would have needed Watson for the diagnosis and treatment, or would an oncologist come up with the same treatment?
In fact, this is such a new discovery of this particular mutation, and it's a relatively new drug as well, that my guess is that many oncologists may not be quite up to speed yet.
Watson gets its wisdom from Dr. Andrew Seidman and a team at New York's Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. 1,500 lung cancer cases so far, and breast cancer cases as well. Lab results, physician's notes, and clinical research have been fed into the supercomputer, along with medical journals and textbooks.
We are trying to challenge Watson right now in the training process with common cases and not so common cases.
So the Watson system that we built is a machine that's about this size. We've done a lot of engineering on that since then. So
Watson Chief Technology Officer Rob High says the achievement is staggering.
Watson learns about language, and that's the really profound breakthrough here, is that
it is in the language that we understand each other.
That breakthrough and Watson's remarkable accuracy could help doctors eliminate unnecessary procedures and costs and disrupt the $2.8 trillion healthcare industry.
It's the partnership between physician and patient, between information technology and the healthcare environment.
I think it is a game changer. It can aid the physician in a way that's nothing we've ever had before.
So we see the potential in Watson. So there's another case of Foxconn. So the first picture is the CEO of Foxconn, Terry Gou. And in 2011, after deal with many human issues such as suicide, and there is many complaints around in the staffs. There is one woman in the interview. He said, "Life is meaningless. Every day I repeat the same thing I did yesterday. We get yelled at all the time. It's very tough around here." So the Terry Gou said he's going to replace 1 million humans with 1 million robots. But in 2014, there is a new news about this, is that million robots revolution delayed. iPhone manufacturer Foxconn hires more humans. And on the right corner, this is a Foxconn robots, Foxconn arm. So after seeing this news, do you think this process will be stopped or delayed? The reason behind this is that because Foxconn made a lot of stuff for Apple, but he's using the current first generation robots. It originally from the car industry. It is very, very big components. It's not very precise. And in Apple standard, Foxconn only made such as maybe 0.05 millimeters of the stuff, but for Apple, its standard is 0.02 millimeters. So in this case, I think the process is delayed. It is not stopped. And also Foxconn is going to invent the second generation robots. I believe it will come soon. And finally, our robots might be replace this kind of low technique processes. And also the Foxconn hires more humans. It hired 100,000 new staffs. This is behind this is because Apple demand is increasing as we buy more iPad and Mac. So it is hiring more humans. So can you imagine if industrials keep replacing humans with intelligent machines and robotics? How are we going to make a living? Some people say, I will just go to the beach and enjoy my life. But will this be true or not? So let's go to see the research have been done. This is research about the future of employment, how susceptible are jobs to computerization. This article takes research of 700 to detailed occupations of US. And according to this research, they estimate almost half of the total US employment is at risk. Here is the graph. So under the curves is the total US employment. We can see the high employment, high risk. On the right one is the high risk. We can see the orange one, the brown one, it is the office and administrative support is at a higher risk. Comparing with sales, the following this is the sales and service. In the low risk area, we can see the highest proportion is education. Like the Solis, you are in education, so it at low risk. And also for healthcare practitioners, it's also at low risk. this is another video about future of hospital. It just say whether it will replace our health practitioners. It's only several seconds.
Many routine tasks are computerized. For example, in the lab, robotic lines automatically process and test blood samples. The results are sent electronically to physicians. Slightly more unexpected are the 20 robots called tugs, which navigate the hospital halls, delivering medications, supplies, and packages.
Your delivery has arrived.
So in my opinion, it will just support our daily work, it not replace our work. So there is a book about risk against the machine written by Eric and Andrew. In this book, they stated that the artificial intelligence will replace humans in service industries that have been traditionally been considered cornerstones of our economy. And also equipped with new capabilities such as the natural language, we have the Siri. So it is possibly going to replace the sales occupation. And it is unclear what will happen to those displaced workers once they lost the jobs to machines and that can do, and the work of several humans at a much lower cost. And Tim O'Reilly commented that the AI revolution is doing to white-collar jobs what robotics did to blue-collar jobs. Stephen Hawking predicts artificial intelligence will reach to a point where it will surpass human capabilities and take off on its own, redesigning itself, and at an ever-increasing rate, therefore becoming dominant intelligence on Earth at mankind's peril. This is just in one word, is singularity. But also he also expressed his fear about singularity. So that's all my presentation. So what do you think? What would you like to consult a machine when you admit to a hospital?
Actually, I'd like to ask a question about the diagnosis, because they've given the statement of Watson can diagnose better than physicians. Is that based on lung cancer only, or did they do a large cross-section?
Currently, there are 3 cancers are most diagnosed very well. It's breast cancer, prostate cancer, and lung cancer. Yeah, there are others. This is 2 years ago, I think, but now it is adding more and more cancer inside its database, I think. Yeah.
Is it mostly a function of it being able to read mammographies better, or is it that allows it to diagnose cancers better, or various imaging studies, or is it also very much something in terms of a history taking that
the history taking is done by the doctor.
Okay.
Yeah, but also for the past history, if we have the patient records, the IBM Watson can search the database. And what can Watson do better than human? Just I say it can search through the internet about publications, about textbooks. Yeah.
Interesting. And I'd be curious also in terms of comparing, because I mean, diagnosis in a sense. I mean, as a physician, I want to come to see it. I mean, diagnosis is very much a cluster of symptoms and imaging and all that. So precisely in terms of Watson's integrative abilities, I'd be curious. Do they then measure the outcome of these particular patients to then verify the diagnosis, or are they comparing it against some gold standard, like, you know, when the biopsy was taken and the pathology was shown, Watson with its information was able to more accurately say, yes, this is the pathology, versus a human doctor then saying, you know, attempting to guess what the pathology is or make a diagnosis?
Yeah. I think they done research is through this process. They have done research in the Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. Yeah, they have done research and assessed the diagnosis rate.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, your question about what humans will do when robots can do everything better.
Yeah.
Always that question is answered with the assumption that humans are going to remain like they are now and somehow going to react to this. But if you think about it, that will so profoundly change human life that we
Just like Industrial
we will
Revolution
be
do.
different.
Yeah.
We're pliable. We can react to stimuli in our surroundings, and the stimuli and surroundings will be so profoundly different that we will behave differently from any humans that there have ever been before. So the idea of saying, well, how would a person now react to this? That's not what is going to happen. We are going to be changed by this. We'll almost be like a new species, and we don't know how that species is going to react. You meet every day people who you think could never exist on the top of Maslow's pyramid of needs. They couldn't write poetry. They wouldn't even want to do anything that's self-actualization. But that is apparently what will happen. Everything at the lower level will be done by robots, machines,
Yeah, just a low-paying jobs. Just I have shown. Yeah.
Yeah, and so the assumption that the human beings will stay the same, and the only question is how will they react and what will they do? The human beings will not stay the same. Something will change in our basic makeup. What we think when we wake up at the beginning of the day, how we identify yourself. Right now, if somebody asks you, who are you? You immediately start saying what your job is. That will change. I don't know what you'll say, but...
One thing that was very interesting also was in seeing the movie Her, looking at their comment on the change and what labor force might be, that it might be much more arts focused, and you might have people specialize in writing incredible love letters to people or graduation presents. Is that similar to what you're thinking in terms of how it will be different?
Yes,
or
but you see, anything that is formulaic, if you can describe what a good love letter is, then robots will eventually, with that description, be able to do it better than we can. So, we're not protected by the fact that in 2015 we can write better love letters than robots can. It's just we haven't really described the process very well. As soon as we do that, then they'll get better at it than we are. So it's very much a moving target, not only of what life will be like for human beings, but what human beings will be like, what they aspire to, what they want. We're assuming we take the wants of today and superimpose this unusual environment, having no job, having everything done.
Maybe new job increase, just like you say, appears new jobs. Just some people may be in charge of the robots.
Yeah. No, I think initially it'll be an exciting job. You might say if we're at war with robots, these are the traitors or the turncoats. But if things go well, if we're never at war, these are the people who are really expert at liaisoning with them. Initially they need to be plugged in. That probably won't stay very long. But there are a number of basic needs that robots are going to have that humans can help them with, and that will be an important human task, assuming that no war breaks out between us and them.
Well, it's also fascinating to see the Jetsons and what their thought was in the way back when of how our life would be.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Mr. Spacely's making me work 3 hours today. What the heck,
Yeah.
And somehow we've caught up, and it seems as though we're almost. There's almost in a sense that people wonder if we're working more now with what's currently been automated, and there's a thought in the 50s. Oh well, with the press of a button, can mechanize everything. Well, man, we'll have everything. We'll have it made.
Yeah. If you look at any famous, successful person today, there's no difference between work life, personal life. It's completely integrated, seamless. That's almost the way you would define a famous, successful person. And you may feel in your own life that there is a conflict between work life, personal life. So what do you make of that fact that it sort of disappears as soon as you become really successful and famous, you know? So this also influences what the future will be like. You know, we're thinking now that there's something about work that has to be done in order to earn a living, but that we basically don't like, that we look forward to the end of the workday so we can do the stuff that we really want. But the other transition that will occur is certainly what we do during the day will be enjoyable when one presumes, you know, the whole day. You will be enjoying yourself. And maybe initially you'll also be working, but eventually you'll be enjoying yourself and you won't be working because, you know, there's no work and we're all living a subsidized life because, you know, things work so, you know, efficiently. Meteorites are being mined and so on with billions of dollars worth of stuff. And so the price of valuable goods approaches zero. You can have whatever you want. Virtual reality is as good as real reality, can be shared with friends. So any experience, anything. And so suddenly, life today, you wake up and you just accept. There are a lot of things you want you can't have. Now here's a new challenge, that when you can have whatever you want, including experiences and real things, how do you make choices then? A lot of your choices now are based on scarcity. In a post-scarcity world, how do you make those decisions? And then there's the opposite of that, and that's what my talk tomorrow will be like. The opposite of post-scarcity world is basically technology gone wrong, where worse than any outcome you can possibly imagine, worse than any religion's depiction of hell, would be sort of the opposite end of the spectrum, where you have a completely uncaring world, everything is worse than today. That's also a possible outcome. So a reason to study future scenarios is to try to point things in the positive direction, so that utopia is more likely than you know, the apocalypse. Okay.